From year to year, month to month, week to week, and day to day, people across the world are obsessed with a phenomenon that is professional wrestling. But why? 101 reasons to love professional wrestling. There are many components of professional wrestling that should be both understood and celebrated, in no particular order. The Lingo. The world of professional wrestling is unique to say the least, and has been around a long time. With any long-running entity, there are certain traditions and customs that are part of the story. In professional wrestling, this includes an entire language. Carney, or Kizarni, is the traditional language used between wrestlers that want to keep their conversations private from the fans. It's called Carney because that's where it comes from, the traveling carnival circuit of old. It's like a cross between Pig Latin and Snoop's Izzle talk. It sounds silly as hell, and it is. But once you know it, you kizant shizake is it. On top of this wacky language, the world of wrestling has a plethora of terms that would make a non-fan raise more than the people's eyebrow. Let's take a look at some of the basics. Babyface. A babyface, or simply a face, is a good guy, the hero of the story. The goal of a face is to get the crowd on their side and yearn for their success. You could say, the babyface comeback delighted the crowd. Heel. The heel is a villain, the bad guy. They will cheat, antagonize the crowd, and their success is measured in boos. An example of this would be, the heel made the children cry as she cheated their hero out of victory. Booker. A booker, or a writer in some cases, is the creative mind behind the fun. They plot out the storylines, matches, and the moments. You'll likely hear a wrestling fan say, the booking on this show has gone downhill. Over. When a wrestler has achieved their goal of connecting with the crowd as a face or heel, this is when a wrestler is over. A good example of this would be the new wrestler's improvements have gotten him over with the crowd. Job. To job is to lose a match. An extension of this is a jobber, which is someone who always loses matches in order to help put over other talents. They're also called enhancement talent. You would hear a wrestling fan say, the small wrestler had the job to the big wrestler to help put him over before his big match. Bump. To fall down. This is often in reaction to another wrestler giving the other a move or an attempt to hurt one's opponent. Along with grappling holds and strikes, these are the crashing falls that wears the wrestlers down. An example of this would be the fall from the cage was a horrible bump. Selling. Selling is the art of acting out the pain of a move, the surprise of a storyline twist, or a written plot point. It is the performance that convinces the audience that the predetermined action is believable. An example you would hear of this would be, the wrestler continues to sell his leg injury by limping past the crowd. Promo. A promo is an in-character speech, interview, or monologue that is used to garner the wrestler, a storyline, or match, or attention, anticipation, or suspense. For example, the promo that wrestler just cut got the crowd excited for the match. Work. A work is when something is choreographed or scripted. It's when the performer is on script and is participating in the agreed upon illusion. An example would be, that's not a real injury, that's a work. Shoot. A shoot is when something is real or unscripted. This can be done verbally in a shoot promo where the performer breaks the fourth wall and exposes the business, or someone can physically shoot, which is, as you can correctly assume, is when a wrestler attempts to legitimately hurt their opponent. For an example of shoot, you would hear someone say, from the looks of her bloody nose, you would think they were shooting. Blading. The blood you see in a professional wrestling match is not always from a violent collision, but it does happen. It's often uncontrolled and is taken very serious by medical staff. However, a professional wrestler, more so in the past, would go that extra extreme step in order to thrill a crowd. No, that's not ketchup. Blading, or gigging, is the act of cutting one's own body, often the crown of the forehead, to achieve the gruesome effect of blood. For example, The veteran wrestler's forehead is covered in scars from years of blading. Mark. A mark is a fan of professional wrestling. It is often used as an insult, but anyone who is a fan of professional wrestling can be considered a mark. There are also smarks, or smart marks, who follow the backstage politics and consider themselves educated on the business. With the access of information that is the internet, the lines of mark and smark have been blurred. Ultimately, fans are marks and marks are fans. An example of this would be, the mark held up their sign high in an attempt to anger the bad guy. And finally, Kayfabe. Kayfabe is the all-encompassing term that maintains the suspension of disbelief. It is sticking to the script, staying in character, and playing along. For an example of kayfabe, you would hear someone say, the rival wrestlers stopped conversing when they spotted a mark nearby to avoid breaking kayfabe. The lingo of professional wrestling goes on and on. All of this is insider talk, but pretty much anyone who follows wrestling can tell you a good chunk of the lingo. It's kinda cool that as professional wrestling fans, we have our own language.